learn, earn, retire is the old paradigm. So what replaces it in Career 3.0 and why is it non-negotiable now?
One is change to the fact that we are all, as human beings, living longer, because of better information, better food, better medicine, all of that. We are living longer. We are actually, therefore, going to have longer career spans. But the challenge of that is organizations are dying faster. The average lifespan of an organization is under 20 years. So I think the ability to think of your career not in terms of a job title that you have to achieve, but how do you stay relevant? The moment you remove the job title, two things happen. One is you are no longer bound by an organization because most organizations are crafted with fairly old school principles, from the industrial age. If you want to stay in an organization also, you will really have to reinvent yourself periodically to stay relevant. Because if you are not relevant, whether you're working inside an organization or outside, it's just as dark.
Based on your research and you have an eye on the market in terms of what are the roles that are going to exist and which are going to cease, right? So what jobs do you genuinely believe will not exist in 10 years and what jobs will explode that don't exist now?
10 years is a very long space. Because things keep changing fairly rapidly. There was a time when it was possible to talk about 10 years because, job is a collection of skills that you need to do something. So, for example, take something like a liftman. A liftman doesn't exist in most lifts today. They are self-operated. Anything which involves conversation with a human being is a job that will stay. But is it effective? The answer is no. You and I, imagine you could only see your family members on Zoom or, on video, but never meet them in real life. Would that really build a relationship? The answer is no. So I think the opportunity for people who can build the relationship, through their words, inspire people, comfort them, provide them meaning, or any person who can combine those things, even in the best of places, is going to stay relevant.
So folks, you have tuned into TGV and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the world's only quadrilingual podcast at this moment of recording, and we are trying to embark into multiple languages as we speak, and here we embark on transformative conversations for a better future, and we want to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host Naveen Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in. So folks, welcome to yet another episode of the Guiding Voice podcast series, and today we are joined by Abhijit Bhaduri. He's an acclaimed HR thought leader and best-selling author of Career 3.0, 6 Skills You Must Have to Succeed, and former partner and general manager, Global Learning and Development at Microsoft, and he is ranked as the number 1 HR influencer by SHRM and described by Forbes as the most interesting journalist from India. And he has advised Fortune 500 companies on talent, leadership, and also culture transformation with over 2 decades of experience leading HR teams at Microsoft, Pepsi, Tata Steel, and Wipro as Chief Learning Officer. Abhijit now mentors leaders and organizations navigating the AI economy through future-proof career development strategies. And Abhijit, you'll not believe, I'm super excited and I'm already on cloud 9 to have you as a guest on my show. Hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, and how are you doing today?
Thank you so very much for having me. I'm really delighted and looking forward to connecting with your audience. So thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure to have you. And first of all, before we get started, I would like to thank Gopal Iyer for making this connection. Thank you, Gopal, for connecting me with amazing Abhijit. All right. So, folks, today we are going to delve into an interesting conversation on the topic at hand: 6 skills that will guarantee your survival in 2027 and beyond. I think this is an important skill for everyone who is in the corporate life and who wants to have long-term career. But before we get started, here's an exciting twist as always. Let us tickle our guest's brain first. So, Abhijit, get ready for a rapid fire round number one. And this is a rapid fire round of random words. I'm going to
Okay.
mention a few words and I would like to hear the
Okay.
first thing that comes to your mind in response. All right. So, my first word is curiosity,
Exploration,
invention,
commercialization,
future,
exciting,
universe,
limitless,
leadership,
difficult journey,
success,
fleeting,
career,
3.0,
role model,
multiple,
AI,
exciting,
and my favorite word, aliens.
want to meet them.
Ditto. All right. So, Abhijit, that was spot on responses. Thank you so much for participating in rapid fire round number one. There is one more rapid fire round toward the end of the episode. So, stay tuned. And now let
Oh gosh. Okay.
and now let's get started with the mainstream conversation. So, Abhijit, first things first, like who is your guiding voice?
I think at different stages in life, you come in contact with different people and they inspire you for different things. So, really, not one guiding voice, but a whole lot of them because you learn something from them and it stays with you. So, it becomes a part of you. So, if I talk about the early influences, obviously, my parents were deep influences for me in terms of their philosophy. But over time, professionally, I've had wonderful bosses, I've had terrific colleagues, learn from all of them. And of course, when you read, you open up the universe. So I've kind of had the opportunity to read and learn from so many people. So not one single guiding voice, but plural guiding voices is how I kind of think about it.
Right, right. Got it. And now talk to us about your success mantra, as in top three things that have contributed to your success so far.
I mean, first of all, I think I'm very uncomfortable about the whole notion of being successful because I think when you said the word success, I said it's fleeting because, I always think that something that you aspire to do, the second you get it, it's a very hollow feeling because you kind of say, okay, what next? So I think it's always that case of, something which is there. But when I look at people who've been successful, what really have I seen common from them? And by no means have I been able to do it myself. But I would say, being able to listen like a jazz musician, which is that the person is playing themselves, but they're also in tune with what the others in the band are playing and they improvise on that. So, the ability to listen, the ability to improvise. And of course, I think that element, if you build into your daily process of work, most successful people do tend to do a combination of listening and improvising. So that's what I have seen, and I try to emulate those people. So I'm really a student of those people who can do this well, and not so many people do it well though.
Right. No, you have hit the right chord. Like the moment we think about a particular milestone and we achieve that, immediately our shift focuses on to bigger one. Right. In fact, I have written one chapter in my upcoming book about that particular principle, and thanks for reminding that. And Abhijit,
Yeah,
you have worked for major corporations like Microsoft,
right.
Wipro, and you have advised Fortune 500 companies as well. So I'm curious to know what is the one career mistake you see most professionals are making today.
Um, Mm, one of the things that I've seen happening over a career that spans over several years, and we are all actually living longer, therefore our careers will span to be much longer. I think the ability to learn what you have not been taught is a very important skill. And not doing that well has resulted in a lot of people getting stuck or becoming obsolete or irrelevant. So I think your career journey is really a continuous process of staying relevant wherever you are. Regardless of whether you change your profession, your sector, your job, your location, any of that, the ability to stay relevant is really the key determinant. So people whose careers have taken off are the ones who've reinvented and stayed relevant.
No, I love the way you have put it, right? Learning something which you are not taught. I think that is very powerful. This is a great nugget. And
Yeah.
learn, earn, retire is the old paradigm. So, what replaces it in Career 3.0 And why is it non-negotiable now?
So, I want to talk about the fact that when you think about our own life, I mean, three major changes that come in. One is, the change to the fact that we are all, as human beings, living longer, because of better information, better food, better medicine, all of that. We are living longer. We are actually, therefore, going to have longer career spans. But the challenge of that is organizations are dying faster. The average lifespan of an organization is under 20 years. And our skills, used to last us an entire career, but it is really barely, the skills barely last you anywhere from 18 to 24 months. Technical skills, especially, they disappear quickly. So I think the ability to think of your career not in terms of a job title that you have to achieve, but how do you stay relevant? The moment you remove the job title, two things happen. One is you're no longer bound by an organization because most organizations were crafted with fairly old school principles, from the industrial age. And many of those things don't really apply now. And therefore, if you want to stay in an organization, also, you will really have to reinvent yourself periodically to stay relevant. Because if you are not relevant, whether you're working inside an organization or outside, it's just as dark. So that's how I think about it.
Mhm. All right. Yeah, got it. And if you look at the future, right, by 2027, nearly 50% of today's
Mhm.
workforce will need completely new skills. And as you said, the shelf life has shrunk to 18 to 24 months, and it might further shrink in future. So, which means if you look at the metrics, 50% of today's workforce, which means like every second person you work with, right? So they are going to get impacted. So how do we even prepare for that scenario?
So, one of the things to sort of really look at is when you look at your skills, you think about your skills in the form of a pyramid. At the base of your pyramid are commodities. Things which everybody has, and you will never get paid separately for it. I mean, extreme example. Suppose I say I can make a slide. I know how to make a presentation, and I want you to pay me for it. You will laugh because today everybody can do it. So that's a commodity. Marketable skill is pretty much what gets you a job today, whatever the market is looking for. And most of the times, the market really is, a wide spectrum of opportunities that your profession offers you. So those are, the marketable skills. But the real magic lies in what are the niche skills, which is right at the tip of the pyramid. The niche skills are not yet taught in a college or school or institution. Niche skills are those which are still emerging. The shape of the skill, there's no formal book to read it from. And the only way you can learn it is by doing it yourself and talking to others, who are also working like you. So when you start to continuously have a set of niche skills in your portfolio, then you continue to evolve and you continue to find opportunities. So I think the real way to think about it is how do we continue to build those opportunities which can be crafted out of the skills pyramid? Knowing that and operating in an ecosystem, the skill by itself is not enough. I mean, we need to connect with people. For example, if I'm a musician, even if am really, really good at, singing or performing or something myself, I have to work with, let's say, a content provider, somebody who writes the lyrics. I need to have other musicians. I need to have a band. I need to have a publicist. I need to have a stage show. I need to have a. So there's a huge range of people you work with in that ecosystem. The big mistake is not really thinking of the ecosystem and just looking at your skill in isolation and saying, this is what I do. I'm going to be really good at it and the world will depend on me. It never works like that. You have to. Um, and over time, I anticipate most people, are going to be self-employed rather than working inside an organization. And over time, my prediction is that it will become a 80-20. 80% people will work outside the organization and 20% people will be employed. So the organization sizes will shrink. You see all the layoffs. That's where it is going to go. So I think, yes, there will be ebbs and peaks. But if you take a really long arc of history, it'll shrink and more people will be outside.
Yeah, I love the metaphor of the musician, and of course, future seems to be challenging. But good thing is, at least people can be on their own if they are creative enough. And moving to my
Yes.
next question, like you have written that careers are built on skills, not aspirations, right? So, what is the difference, and why do most people get this wrong?
You have to have a goal, which is fine. You can say that I want to be the best sports person. I want to be the best cricket player or basketball player or whatever you want to do. But saying that is not enough. I mean, a dream is a beginning. It's really like saying I want to build a house. I want to have my own house, and you can have a dream, but until you start putting the bricks and you start putting it together, it'll not get built. So careers are not built by aspirations. The skills become really like your building blocks, and you put it together. And as I was saying, that as long as you are relevant, that house keeps getting built. The day you stop being relevant, it stops there. So your career is really your journey through life, because in your lifespan there will be moments when you have to slow down, you have to speed up, you have to look at a different option and various things. Sometimes the circumstances are within your control, sometimes it's not. I mean, there are geopolitical forces, there are economic forces, social forces, technology, legal requirements, environment. I mean, there are a whole lot of things that shape us. So, our career gets defined by multiple factors. It's not enough that, you say, I have a skill and therefore that's good enough. So that's a career 1.0 model that I've graduated and that's it. So that world doesn't exist anymore.
Got it. And if you look at LinkedIn data, right, it shows 33% of executives don't even know where to begin their career development, and 31% can't scale it. So, why is organizational career planning so broken?
A couple of different things. One is, organizations were really designed like, it's one highway. So you get onto that highway and then you can speed along and you sort of go. But what happens is today the organization's business model itself tends to change a lot. It changes because of market forces, because of various things that are happening. When the organization's business model changes, the skills required, they will change. When the skills required change, the organization's rules and regulations will favor those who have those skills. So, in my book, I talk about work, worker, and workplace. Three different things. Work changes as now, let's say, generative AI is changing a lot of the way that we work. So, the organizations are going to look for different skills. So, the worker has to bring, if workers change, the worker has to bring a different set of skills. And as the worker brings different skills, those who have the skills will stay relevant. So the workforce will continue to employ them, the workplace. And, those who are not relevant will need to find other ways to stay relevant, outside of the organization. So I think that's going to be a continuous kind of a feeling. But it's not as if the career planning is the responsibility of the organization, because at the end of the day, our career is something you manage by yourself. You can't go to a restaurant and expect home cooked food. It's never going to happen. So your career is really your journey through your life, and the opportunity could be inside an organization, could be outside. And so I think people will go in and out of organizations multiple times. I've done it myself. I was working somewhere, then I started my own firm, then I got re-employed by Microsoft, then I started my own firm. So this whole process is going to continue throughout your career. Because earlier the wisdom was that once you leave the corporate world, you can never go back. It's a one-way street, and it's not. So I think that's how it is changing.
And if you look at LinkedIn data, right, it shows 33% of executives don't even know where to begin their career development, and 31% can't scale it. So, why is organizational career planning so broken?
All right, because technical expertise, is important. It also gets you hired. If you're a computer programmer, I mean, you don't know how to program it, so that's a given. It doesn't create a real advantage for you separately. Your real advantage comes from your soft skills, the way that you work with people, the way that you learn different things. So I actually categorized six skills, and they are all interrelated. The first important skill is how do you learn something that you've not been taught before? So that I think is the mother of all skills. In that sense, it's the biggest, it's the meta skill. So you learn what you've been taught before. That's your first one. The second one is once you learn it, how do you teach others? Because it solidifies what you've learned, and then you begin through the questions. It opens up more doors for you. So that's a very powerful way to continue to learn. Your third skill is actually, the ability to become a great storyteller, because great storytellers are also great teachers. People find it engaging. Your fourth skill is in building a strong personal brand. So people, when they think of a particular problem, they think of you as the solution to that problem. That's a strong personal brand. The fifth skill is how do you navigate different ecosystems, like the example I was talking about for the musician, as the sound engineer, the concert provider, the other people, your fan base, everything. That's your ecosystem. So you have to learn to navigate multiple ecosystems. So let's say you're trying to create content. You're working somewhere. You're creating content. The content world is completely different from your usual ecosystem. So that's a different ecosystem. You have to learn the rules of that. You have to meet people in that. So that I think is your fifth. The sixth is think about your skills like the VC thinks about, or the share market thinks about a portfolio of stocks. Some stocks go up, some stocks come down. Once the stock goes up, you are investing more in it. Once the stock comes down, you abandon it and sort of, work on different skills. So these are the six skills that I've talked about in my book, Career 3.0.
Quite insightful. And Abhijit, curiosity appears to be a thread through your thinking, right? So, why do you think curiosity is more valuable than domain expertise in today's world?
Yeah, because the domain will keep changing. One simple example is when I started my career, there was no title called Chief Learning Officer. It's a new role which came up, and it's a great opportunity. Wipro was generous enough to give me that opportunity, and give me a chance to do that. It was also an opportunity for me to define what that role could potentially do. So, as different from, let's say, a training role. When I was starting my career, there was, of course, training and development, and that in turn changed into learning. Moved from a very structured thing which I teach you to things that you learn and sort of imbibe on your own. So the software element became important. So I think roles will evolve. When you look at people, when you have curiosity, you are always ready to explore something, and you are not stuck with your success or failure. You can move past that. So I think successful people are the ones who stay curious on a continuous basis, and curiosity actually becomes the base on which you can stay relevant, because then you kind of want to know, okay, what next? I know how to do this. What else can I learn? So the best of people, when I see them, the people who continue to attract others and attract opportunities, therefore, are curious people who've done new things. Not everything has worked, but they've tried new things.
Right, right. Yeah, got it very clear. And I've gone through a lot of your articles, and they center around adaptability and learning. These are mentioned constantly. But how do you unlearn something which has been baked into our muscle memory for, say, 10 years or 15 years? How can it happen?
Um, if I talk about something that I've done over time. If you see my website abhijitbhaduri.com, and it's got things that I've been writing from 2005. So it's been 20 years that I've been writing regularly. What actually works is if you are able to stay externally connected. Because most of the times, what happens is when you are working in an organization, and most organizations still carry the industrial age mindset that, you focus on what's inside. That's the only way to do your job. Somebody who's externally focused, or is writing a lot differently, people don't appreciate that. Very few organizations do. The ones which are externally connected are the ones which stay relevant, because the world changes outside. It doesn't change inside your own organization. And the ones which become irrelevant are the ones where the internal world is still clinging on to the past tense, that, we used to do this, we were the number one in this and that. And, if you see the top 10 companies in any year in the Fortune 500 listing, I mean, just as a common reference, that list keeps changing every year. And how many times during the year, you look at the list of the top 10 billionaires, so then that list also keeps changing. So the world is continuously changing. If you kind of stay happy where you are, and you can be contented, you can be very happy with where you are, but you can continue to stay curious. It doesn't have to come from a place of discontentment or unhappiness, but it can come from a place of curiosity. That's the big difference. When you're unhappy, you're probably looking at an end state. Curiosity is the exploration.
When you mentioned about external focus, actually, it reminded me of my GE days, because I worked there for about 11 years. And external focus was one of 5 core values there. I think, yeah, that takes us a long way. And moving to my next one, connecting dots across domains, right? Faster than change unfolds, right?
Hmm.
Is this the ultimate competitive advantage?
The ability to connect the dot comes from the number of dots you've collected. So collected comes before connected. So if you've not truly gathered unique experiences, it's a combination of three things. One is you have to have education, because your education tells you, and the only way you get education is when you read, a wide range of things. You read, listen, watch podcasts, you learn, you take new courses, and do all of that. That actually keeps you relevant. So that's your first part, your education. Second is exposure, where what you've learned, connect it to different disciplines. Inside an organization. So let's say if I'm in human resources and talent management, actually knowing what is happening in the world outside. If I'm a talent acquisition specialist, I can actually see what are the kind of skills that are really becoming important outside. So, can everybody in the organization tell you what are the top 10 skills that will be relevant next year and not so relevant, which may have been relevant today? So just keeping that external connection actually helps you to gather. So that's your education, exposure, and experience. As you try to build something yourself, you'll discover new stuff. So that's the three things that combine together to, in some sense, get you to stay relevant. So the metaphor I would use, in fact, if you see on my website, abhijitbhaduri.com, I've used an article where I've said, you have to learn to be a chef, not just stay a cook. A cook follows recipes. The chef can create based on what's available. Okay, you don't have a tomato, it's fine. I can do without that. I can use something else instead. So being able to improvise, being able to change things as the world changes. Your customer comes and say, I am allergic to tomatoes. You can choose something else. So that aspect is what makes a chef, not a cook. A cook is limited by the recipe. You've seen what's there on YouTube. That's the only way you know how to bake it. So the cook has to be a chef.
I love the metaphor. It's amazing. And moving to next one, like again, based on your research, and you're always you have an eye on the market in terms of what are the roles that are going to exist and which are going to cease, right? So what jobs do you genuinely believe will not exist in 10 years, and what jobs will explode that don't exist today?
First of all, 10 years is a very long space, because things keep changing fairly rapidly. There was a time when it was possible to talk about 10 years. Today, it's not. I mean, jobs come and go, because, job is a collection of skills that you need to do something. So, for example, take something like a lift man. A lift man doesn't exist in most lifts today. They are self-operated. But if you sort of really look at the value that somebody adds, in the human side, anything which involves a conversation with a human being is a job that will stay. So, the ability for a teacher to motivate, that's something. Yes, AI can, give you the information. And it's really like saying that when you teach online? Can you go and do your work online? You and I are having this conversation online as we speak. Is it possible to do it? Of course it is. It's more efficient to do it like this. But is it effective? The answer is no. You and I, imagine you could only see your family members on Zoom or on video, but never meet them in real life. Would that really build a relationship? The answer is no. So I think the opportunity for people who can build the relationship, through their words, inspire people, comfort them, provide them meaning, all of those roles, anything which combines those things, or any person who can combine those things, even in the best of places, is going to stay relevant. So you can do robotic surgery, but you want the physician who can come to you and say, "Don't worry, we'll make sure you go back home healthy." That is the human connection that will remain. Robotic surgery, yeah, it will become much better than the person who can do that. So people who can engage with others' emotions will always remain valuable.
And we spoke about commodity skills during beginning of the conversation. So for someone in a commodity skills role today, think of the PPT preparation or basic coding or Excel level skills, right? How much time do they have before automation replaces them?
These skills are already, if you see it, these skills, you can use, take an example of a photographer. Every camera today has an amazing lens which you can use. So you don't have to be an outstanding photographer to take great photographs. Having said that, the best photographers are still highly in demand. They get paid massive amounts of money because their skill is so unique. Because in the same thing, what you are seeing and photographing, you are also photographing the sunset like everybody else and millions of people around the world. But they'll do something with it which creates a signature stamp. When you look at that picture, you can always say, this has to be something unique. So you can spot great thing. Has the Mona Lisa been replicated and painted hundreds of times? Of course it has been. But why is it that we still go back to that? That I think is the real skill. I was watching the performance of a really famous performer. I was there for a Brian Adams concert. He's really been performing for the last 30, 40 years now. But if you sort of really see that, his ability to, it's not the music with alone, but his ability to engage the crowd. That is really it's still the human connection that gives longevity to your skills. So I would say, yeah, of course, keep learning new skills in your domain, but also make sure that, you are building a human connection in the ecosystem.
And talking again about your um, pyramid, the skills pyramid, right? It has three levels like commodity and then marketable and signature skills. So, can you explain why most professionals get trapped either at level one or level two?
Um, you know, Commodity skills are the ones which have worked in the past. They don't work now. And the example was, I know how to use a laptop, and now so does everybody else in the world. I can tell you, I also know how to use a mobile phone. You're not going to pay me anything for that. I have the skill, but I will never get paid for it. But if I can fix your mobile phone when it's not working, then you will pay me for it. So a commodity skill, the moment it becomes marketable, is when there is a market created for it. You have a problem, I know how to solve it. That's a marketable skill. The niche skill is one, or the signature skill is one, which is actually something which there is no market for it yet, and you are learning skills because you are curious. So very often when I see people who are saying that, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was recommending a particular history book, and this person was saying, history is all about the past. I mean, here the world is changing, 20 times in the next year. So what's the point of reading history? I'd rather look at the future. And I was saying that, for somebody who's not read history, everything seems to be new. But if you see, I mean, the AI market, swinging up and down, a lot of people think this is something unique. But if you ask some of the most experienced people who've read history, they'll tell you it has happened multiple times. It has happened in 1930s, it has happened in the 70s, it has happened in in the year 2000. I mean, it's not unique. So for if you haven't read history, everything to you is new and wow. I mean, you don't know what to do about it. For example, if you read biographies or memoirs, you have learned from others' mistakes because you are not such a unique human being. The people who failed and done things in the past, the more you've read about them, you know what has worked and what has not worked. So I think the ability to do that on a constant basis is really what matters. That's how I would sort of really look at it. Signature skill is when you are exploring something without there being a payoff. You are just learning for pure curiosity. That, I think, is really gives you an advantage. I'll take one example of a personal life. I used to do a lot of work in the radio when I was growing up, So, and that time there was only one radio channel. Now there are so many FM channels and all that. So when I was doing that, then for a while because of my travels and all that, I was doing it on and off. So I was running a radio show in US, a while back. Then the world changed, and then we had podcasts. So for a moment, I didn't know about podcasts, but when somebody said, "Oh, have you tried something called podcasts?" and I said, "No, I haven't. What is it?" And when I looked at it, I said, "Okay, this is really the radio and television combined, and it's really exactly the same thing, not very different. It, you build an audience, you build a connection." So things come back. Now, if I've never seen the radio, podcast for me is a new medium. If you've seen the radio, it's just radio looking different.
Yeah, love it. And also, you have advised thousands of professionals, right? So, what is the pattern you have seen in people who thrive versus those who plateaued?
You know, um, if you look at people who've done that well, if you sort of really look at, and you don't have to look very far, you can look around you. People who stayed relevant are the ones who have not um, become complacent once you get success. All of us experience success in some shape or form. It can be an increment, it can be a promotion, it can be, getting a new client, it can be many different things. If you stay very excited and you kind of, you've got your first client and, the client pays you a handsome, fee, you kind of say that, okay, that's amazing and I have arrived. The moment you have that feeling, that's a disastrous the sign of a disaster waiting to happen. So I think and it's something that saw, my when my first book happened, um, and I was really excited, and my parents were, they were excited, but they said the next morning, my dad said, "What are you going to write today?" I said, I have a book already in the market. I'm so excited. He said, "That's yesterday. Your book was launched yesterday. What are you writing today?" That, at that point of time, I got really annoyed with him. I said, "My God, I mean, can you not let me enjoy this?" He said, "You've enjoyed it yesterday. You celebrated. Today, write again." If I had not taken that, I would have been a one book author. So that, I think, is the
Interesting. And Abhijit, this has been quite intriguing and insightful and incredible conversation. And it's time for us to add some more spice and excitement to the episode, which means we have come to the second rapid fire round. And if you're ready, let's get the ball
oh
rolling.
gosh. Okay, go for it. Go for
Okay.
it.
And here comes my first bullet. If you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
Nihil ultra, which is a phrase I used in my first work of fiction. It means nothing is beyond.
Wow, nothing is beyond. Super. And can you describe yourself in just one word?
Explorer.
Awesome. And MBA versus actual experience, right? which matters more for the next role?
MBA teaches you a couple of things, but you don't have to do an MBA to keep learning. So you can teach yourself today. We live in a golden age where everything is available. There are great MBA teachers who are teaching online. Join the classes. There are people who are writing, read their work. There are people who are speaking, listen to the podcast. So you can teach yourself anything by yourself. I mean, someone like Tim Ferriss teaches himself a new skill ever so often, and reaches expertise level. So it's possible to do it today. So just try doing that.
Yeah, got it. And this question may not be relevant in future, but still I'm asking, do you advise somebody to stay at a company for 20 years or jump every 2 to 3 years?
First of all, the companies don't last for 20 years now. The average age of a company is about 19. So it will be hard to stay for 20 years. Two, the skills, if the skills disappear and your skills are not relevant, the company will get rid of you. If your skills are not relevant, the market has no place for you. So I think it is not about how long you stay in a company or outside. I think the real question really will be that, are you able to stay relevant for 20 years? Or, in multiples of 20 years, if you sort of really look at it. So the question is of relevance rather than time. I just wrote a piece for Times of India, which is there on my website, abhijitbhaduri.com, where I have talked about the fact that what's the best time for your next job search. The answer very simply is that, as long as you are learning and you are adding to your skills, you're adding to the bank balance of your relevance, it's worth staying. If not, I think at least that's how I've moved.
I read that article on physical paper actually.
Oh, you did? Okay, thank you.
It was published a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. And let's assume boss or growth, right? So when they conflict, which one will win?
Boss sometimes can also help you grow. I've had bosses who have said something or given me feedback, which I may or may not have liked at that stage, but it has helped me to grow. So I don't think they are, I must say that as a person, I always think in terms of an and. So I barely ever in my life find one thing completely useless or fantastic without flaws. So I think it's both. You need somebody who can mentor you. You need somebody who can help you grow. And both of them actually demand, you need to want to learn from somebody. So it's on you. You need to take charge of your own growth. So it's again on you. So it's both.
Right. Got it. Passion or pragmatism, which drives successful careers?
Passion is a beginning. It sort of gets you started. You're passionate about learning something. You want to learn to play the guitar. That's a passion that you have that you must pursue. But to become good, you have to do the boring stuff, which is to practice every day. So that only happens if you are not passionate about practicing every day, then it's truly not your passion. So then it's a fleeting ambition that, okay, I want to be an astronaut. Yeah, but would you then give up everything to be an astronaut? If the answer is no, then it's not really your passion. It's something that you've heard from others that it's a good thing to be passionate about. It's not. I mean, so that is a fleeting moment.
Right. Yeah. That's clear. And career ladders or portfolio careers, which is the future?
Your network may create the opportunities because you have different people. That's why I said build the ecosystem. Your ecosystem is not based on transactions. Look, if I only come to you when I need something, nobody's ever going to help you. Just imagine I need a job and then I say, can you help me with a job? I've never spoken to you before. I don't know you, or maybe I've only met you once. Are you going to really, even though you may want to help me, I'll never be top of mind for you. So when you actually build deeper relationships, those are the ones which help you. And your resume actually must have, a resume is an incomplete document. So it doesn't talk about your network. It doesn't talk about so many skills that you may have. It doesn't talk about your ideas. It doesn't talk about your motivation. So a resume is a very incomplete document. So I am not a huge fan of that.
That's clear. career ladders or portfolio careers, which is the future?
Oh, without doubt, portfolio careers. Well, this ladders are gone. I mean, that world does not exist. So, even when you look at so many musicians and all that, they're all doing different things. They are not just singing, they're also getting their word out on a podcast. They're on Instagram, they're sharing their ideas, they're teaching people on online. So, it's not just one thing. Even the one, people who are specialists, they're also going to different places. So that's really the way that I see the world. Portfolios for sure.
And here comes the next one. Your proudest career decision. What was it and why?
My proudest career decision is, to give opportunities to people where, the person himself or herself was not very sure. And when you work with them to help them succeed, I think is something that, always remains a very special part of my career.
And here comes the last one for the second rapid fire round. What is one electronic gadget or a fantasy gadget that you would like to see or invent yourself?
Prompts me to learn something different, today from based on what we have today. AI actually can teach you a whole lot of things. The only thing it can't teach you is how to build an actual relationship with a human being. So I would love to have a gadget to learn new languages, new skills, and all of that. But I would like to stay with the human connection because I don't know. I'm in that one sense, I'm very old fashioned because I believe that there is no substitute for um, human connection in person. I learn better in a classroom with other people. Not because that content is not available. The content, MIT has its courses online. You can do the courses, but it's the magic lies in when you meet other people and you learn with others, you challenge others ideas, you get challenged yourself. So it's all of that. I would totally look for that, the human connection. And I hope never is a machine that teaches us how to build human connections.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. So that was another amazing second rapid fire. And let's flip back to the mainstream. And what is your final prediction in a few years? Like, will career even be a concept or will it be completely replaced by something else?
the dictionary definition of a career is your journey through life. So as long as we are living, we'll have a career. And it may look different. In the agricultural economy, work remained on the field. To grow food was work. Today, work could be, abstract things like imagining the prompt to write for AI is work. So the notion of work will keep evolving. It'll always, things move from being tangible to intangible. So that's always the journey. Work will go in that direction. But I think our career remains, our journey through life. So, the human connections, the ups and downs, the possibilities, the dreams, the successes, the failures, all of that put together is really what will continue to make life exciting for us. When that disappears, even continuous success becomes boring. You ask people who have been very successful, they'll tell you it's boring.
Amazing. And Abhijit, I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. It was very, very insightful. And I'm sure our audience are going to benefit from this episode a lot. And how is your experience being hosted on The Guiding Voice, my podcast?
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was lovely. I enjoyed the question. I wish I could be more brief, is how I think about it. I think I speak too much on.
No, I think they were of right size and I thoroughly enjoyed. And yeah, looking forward to hosting you again in future.
Absolutely. I
Thank you
look
once
forward to
again
that.
for
Thank
being
you.
part
Thank you so much for having me here.
of Yeah, all right. And thank you, Gopal, once again for connecting me with amazing Abhijit Bhaduri. And friends, that was our episode with Abhijit Bhaduri. And you'll find his website details in the show notes or episode description. And if you're not following him already, you'll find lot of insightful content. And in fact, you have to also uh, read the Times of India every Wednesday. I think in HR Ascent, you'll find Abhijit's articles quite often, and they are really insightful. And it's like almost like a dream come true for me, having read his articles, having a conversation with him. So thank you, Gopal, once again for making this happen. And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request. If you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful, you know what to do, right? Please share with at least three of your friends or colleagues or family members who would also like TJV, the guiding voice. So spread the knowledge and help others grow just like you. Now it's time for us to cruise into the trivia segment. Having an amazing conversation about Career 3.0 and six skills which are going to help you stay relevant. I thought of presenting you three lesser known and interesting facts about career shifts over decades. The first one is job hopping penalty, which is reversed, like in 1990s to 2020s. So staying at one company for 20 plus years was a badge of honor, and recruiters viewed job hoppers with suspicion. Why did you leave so quickly? Are you unreliable? But fast forward 2020s, the opposite is true. Staying at the same company for 10 plus years now raises red flags. Like recruiters assume you have stagnated or haven't learned new skills and are resistant to change. The average tenure at a job has dropped from 12 years in 1980s to 4 to 5 years in 2025. And the people who switch jobs every 2 to 3 years earn 50% more over their lifetime than those who stay out. And why it flipped? Because technology disruption made staying in one role obsolete, and companies also stopped investing in internal career progression. And so employees had to vote with their feet. This loyal employee became liability, not an asset. Second fact is that credential crisis. Degree relevance, right? It collapsed in 10 years. If you talk about 2010 decade, a degree from prestigious university almost guaranteed a good job. And your alma mater opened doors and employers filtered primarily by college name. But now in 2025, like hiring managers started explicitly saying skills matter more than degrees. That's why you find most of the college dropouts getting into some very good opportunities. And in fact, one of my guests, who is Asia's youngest data scientist, he enrolled for engineering, but before that, he got hired and he has quit his engineering degree. And LinkedIn data also shows that 70% of job postings no longer require a college degree compared to 40% 5 years ago. And meanwhile, bootcamp graduates and self-taught professionals with strong portfolios are outpacing degree holders. And here the twist plot is that, ironically, salaries for new graduates have stagnated while the cost of degrees has tripled. And a degree now costs about 100K to 300K, but signals less and less about actual capability. And skill certification are now valued higher than degrees in tech, data, and emerging fields. So I would like to stop the trivia section here. And the main lesson here is that career rules that work for 30 years don't apply anymore. As Abhijit has mentioned, we are in the era of fast transformation. And the professionals winning in 2025 are those who treat their careers like a startup, constantly iterating, learning, and pivoting, and not like a stable job. So this is all from the trivia perspective. Likewise, if you have any interesting facts related to trivia, do let us know. And folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. So until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember, the best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Take care. Love you all. Bye bye.